What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another week of the Star Wars Exchanges after show of Andor, of course, episode 10. Wow, Andor just keeps going and going and going, and it just keeps getting better and better and better, doesn't it? What a goddamn show this is. It's fantastic. I'm absolutely loving this. Mike, how are you this week? How good's Andor?
It's very, something that me and Andor have in common is that we're both doing great, right? It's just a wonderful time in the year. It's getting dark outside early, and it's just changed my whole mood. But you know what? The one thing that I've been looking forward to every week is Andor, and that has not changed. If anything, this week I looked forward to it the most. Just the buzz that last week left me. I was like, I couldn't wait to jump into this one. So it was something to look forward to this week. But yeah, overall, I've been doing okay, but that hour change just has me messed up. I don't like being it feels like I'm a night owl. I'm a night owl already, but it just feels like I'm a night owl all the time. And it's not a good feeling sometimes, like because I stood up to watch Andor, I kind of woke up late and I only have a couple hours in the day with sunlight, and then it just all goes dark in a matter of hours. So I was driving to work today, and it was already sundown, and I was like, "This is some scary stuff, man." But like I said, the bright spot right now for me is Andor, and I've just been so hyped to watch it, talk about it, and I just can't get enough. And I'm like, "There's 2 episodes left, everyone. There's 2 episodes left. You're in it or you're not."
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm in it. I'm invested. So we got 2 weeks left of Andor after show. I mean, besides this one, it's like we have 2 episodes left. So I'm feeling all the emotions. Like I can't wait to finish this series, but at the same time, it's just gonna be kind of like a bittersweet goodbye. So I've
Yeah.
been dealing with all that. But how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been very quiet couple of weeks for me, so it's been good to be able to properly sort of digest these Andor episodes. And you said this is the episode you were most excited for. I definitely agree because I actually had the time to like think about it, and but also just the way the story's going right now. How could you not be excited? But yeah, it's funny because you're saying how you're entering that darker period of the year. You're going into your winter. Complete opposite for me. Our days are getting longer. We're going into the summer, all that sort of stuff. So we're like, oh man, we're experiencing polar opposite seasons right now, which is kind of
I'm
crazy.
sorry,
But
man. That was just the meanest thing I think you've done on the show. And it wasn't even the Parks prank.
I
It
didn't
wasn't
even
even
mean
none
to.
of
I'm
that.
sorry.
Making fun of me when I was singing. It's just that, like, I'm talking about how sad I am, and you're like, well, for me, this. You know what? That's how it is in the exchange show. We always have an exchange, don't we? But
We sure do. Yeah,
uh
and well, no, I'm sorry, mate, but you have to get over here and experience the summer for yourself. But no, yeah, the I'm also excited for it to end in the sense of like I'm just so excited to watch this whole season as just one thing. You know what I mean? Like I haven't
right.
rewatched any of the episodes yet, which I planned to, but then I just didn't have the time. But I could have rewatched last night's episode, but I'm like, no, I don't want to rewatch any of them. So that when I do that full rewatch, I can like really digest it and enjoy it in the best way possible. But man, it's crazy to think that a year or maybe 2 years, 18 months could go by, and we're just going to be waiting for a season 2 of Andor. Like, how nuts is that? And in between, the time we get to season 2 and now, we're gonna get Mando season 3, Bad Batch season 2, potentially Ahsoka, potentially the Acolyte, all this stuff. Like, we probably will get both of those series before Andor season 2. So yeah, it's going to be a big wait, but it's going to be great because there's just so much to look forward to. It feels like not too long ago. I'm kind of going off topic here, but why not? It doesn't feel like too long ago when all these shows were getting announced at that Investor Day and all this sort of stuff. And now it really feels like, wow, we're really pulling through with all of this. We've already seen 2 seasons of Mandalorian. We've seen Obi-Wan. We've seen Andor, and it's just the things are just getting started. It feels like with Star Wars and Disney Plus.
Yeah, and just the other day, it marked 4 years since the announcement of this Andor show. And I remember
Yeah,
right, I remember where I was. I was in a different house, and I was in the porch of that house, and I think I came home from school, and I was getting ready to go to work, and it was like that, like 2-3 p.m. period right before I started work, and I remember looking at my phone and seeing that in Star Wars Instagram posted like announcement like Cassian Andor is getting his own series, and they hadn't revealed the name yet, but a like spin-off series. And I remember jumping up and down in that porch, Like there is no tomorrow. I was like, and my brother's like, well, I'm like, dude, they're doing a Cassian Andor series, and like
Yeah,
I just love the character so much from Rogue One that I was just like, I didn't even know what the story was, and I was just pumped. I was like, give it to me. It makes sense, and it was a lukewarm reaction in the comments. I remember everyone was like, no
yeah,
one asked for this, and to Ari's point, it's like, look at what we're experiencing now and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, no one asked for this, and that's
yeah.
probably the best thing, you know. So
And that's probably why it's so good, because it's
mhm.
not fans just clamoring on for, whatever it is, what they want. It's like someone said, you know what, I've got a great Star Wars story to tell and I'm going to tell it. But yeah, I was actually watching an
Exactly.
interview with Diego Luna yesterday, and he, because obviously he's not only the talent of the show, but he's a producer as well. And he's talking about how he's been working on this show for 4.5 years now, which is just insane to think that it's only, coming to audiences now. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to be really interested to see how, as you say, it did get that lukewarm response when it was announced, and in the lead up, no one, well, very limited amount of people had good things to say about it in terms of their excitement or whatever. I'm going to be so interested to see how the conversation shifts once we get, to the end of the series, because already,
It's
like, the
yeah.
common consensus on the internet is just like that this is probably the best Star Wars live action show we've got. I think 10 episodes in, I'd feel pretty safe to say that it's probably my favorite of all the Star Wars live action shows. So yeah, it's
Same,
crazy.
and I've noticed even by posting about the show now, like it used to get like maybe 20, 30, 40 comments, people talking about it.
Yeah,
Now it's like 90 comments, people tell me what they thought of the episode, and 90 plus
yeah,
people. I was like,
yeah,
wow, there's actually a response now. And the other day people were like, I'll get into my Tales of the Jedi in another podcast. My thoughts is grown since last time we talked. But
yeah,
I gotta say, like people were like posting or sharing Tales of the Jedi debuted at like 100% or something, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I was
yeah,
like, there's only like maybe like 8 reviews at the time. I was like, guys, 8 people out of eight, just 8 people like the series. I was like, it's not an impressive number. And then when I looked at Andor's fresh Rotten Tomatoes rating and all the reviews that it has from like critics and stuff, I was like, oh no, this is what we're talking about here. This is more substantial, not to compare the two because it's very different, but people were like clamoring for Tales of the Jedi
yeah.
with 8 reviews and they all liked it 100%. And then, Andor, I'm like, no, this has more weight. Bad Batch even has more weight. But yeah, sorry, I want to take a second to
Yeah.
diss Tales of the Jedi, but we move on.
I was gonna say I went and checked it because I was like, yeah, I remember when it was 100%. It still is 100%. I don't know how many people reviewed it, but anyway, Tales of the Jedi, it deserves that rating because it's just that good. But final thing I want to say before we get into this episode is exactly to your point is that I remember posting about Andor in those first few episodes, and I was just like, oh, this is no one is talking about this. No one wants to talk about this. Whereas now, mostly what I've noticed, at least with the podcast, is with our viewership at the start, it was not anything, and it's grown as the show's gone on, which is really cool to see, because even I remember Alex Styles Explained was talking about it, and he said, with a show like Obi-Wan, the premiere got, like, his review for that got hundreds of thousands of views, and the finale got hundreds of thousands of views, but those middle episodes where the show wasn't really doing great, there was nothing there. So that just shows the difference of the two. I hate to compare stuff, but I just do it all the time because I can't help it. But that shows the difference between a show that really, that the excitement for it was all around like something outside of what the show actually is. Whereas this, the excitement for Andor is purely because the show is fantastic. You know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
and that's what we're seeing, and it's cool because I don't think I've never seen something like with Star Wars do what Andor's doing right now. I don't think anyone has. So
No,
yeah,
no, no.
it's awesome to
We
see.
haven't. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's let's talk about this latest episode after that 10-minute ramble about how much we love Andor. But yeah, what did you think of episode 10? Probably my favorite episode. Was it yours as well?
I mean, what is there to say? I mean, like, oh man, I have to say it probably is my favorite episode of the Andor series. I mean,
Yeah,
who thought that we would get the best prison break in Star Wars, or I think
yeah,
ever, just this year and in Andor? Like, it's
yeah,
insane. Also the
yeah,
best monologues in Star Wars. Like, I remember doing a like it, my first year of um college. I had to take like Com 101, so that's like a speech class. And one of our final assignments was like, do a monologue from a movie or something from a book, and like you have to say it in front of the class as your final. So you had to rehearse it, you had to do everything. And I remember being like, "Oh, Jin." I couldn't think of any from Star Wars because that's my comfort. So I like looked on to Star Wars. I was like, couldn't find one. But I was like, "Oh, Jin Erso from Rogue One." I thought that was a really good monologue. A little good speech. I went in there and it lasted all but 30 seconds. So I couldn't do it for the class. And then I'm watching the show and I was like, I was so mad because I would have so done Kino's monologue
Oh
over the
yeah,
comm. I so would have done Luthen's
yeah.
sacrifice monologue, which we'll get into,
Oh,
but it's just I would have so loved to do that stuff. So I was mad that this show wasn't released, like however how many years ago that was. But it's like I
yeah.
wish that we had that then. But I mean, oh my god, this episode was just everything. Like I love that it was a great conclusion to the arc. It tied everything really nicely, and also
Mm.
raised some big questions that I think we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, overall, damn, what a great episode! What a great episode! It was nice to not get a stale episode where it was like there's this lead up and it's like, okay, we're gonna do what you're expecting and that's it. No, it went above that. So I have to say had a great time with it. But what about you? You're already saying your stuff. Anything else you want to like express on from this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you said, and yeah, that's so funny about that your monologue story because it's true. Like the monologues in the show are great, and I'm pretty sure. I don't know if Jin's one in Rogue One was written by Tony Gilroy, but it's like they're all in Tony Gilroy's sandbox at least, so that says something. But yeah, like this is the best arc in the show by far for me, at least. But the arc, this episode would not have been as good without the previous two, and but also the episode had to be good to make those two worthwhile to get a good payoff. And so and they all just played into each other beautifully, and it was just so rewarding. Like it just felt so great. They could have really got this not right easily, I feel like. But it was pretty flawlessly done. There was the only tiny thing I'd have to say that wasn't great about it is just I think maybe the start of the prison break, it felt like we were pushing through it a little too quickly, but that's really the only thing I have to say about it. And so my only criticism is, can we have more of the show? Because I remember honestly early on when we were getting these 50-minute episodes, I was like, oh, 50 minutes, really? And then I saw this one, I was like 45. I was like, what? Like I wanted like an hour or like something. But you know, um, but it's crazy to think how a Star Wars show could really potentially be show of the year. Obviously, I'm extremely biased in that sense, and I'm not watching every show that's coming out, but I don't see why this show couldn't be considered like the best show of the year, pretty much. But
Oh yeah,
um,
for
yeah,
sure.
and
I'm with you.
you know, as I say it every week, but it is this is definitely my favorite episode. It's just so good, and we'll get more into specifics as we go through the breakdown. But man, the character of Kino is just fantastic. Who would have thought Andy Serkis would make a return to Star Wars in the Andor series and just like blow everyone's mind like that? Like that's
I
incredible.
know.
And the final thing I'll say, and just to as my overall thoughts, is just this show is just shot so beautifully, just in every sense. Like that scene at the end where Cassian and Melshi are like running through, and then the moons are in the background. They run up to the camera, you can see their feet, make a dent in the sand, or even just Luthen standing there. And if you wrote that on the page, it's just Luthen is standing, and there's like some silver boxes around it. But no, he's got like his wind flying, his cape flying in the wind. Like it's just so nice to watch. Like, and it's just so refreshing. It's just this show is
That's
so
this
creative,
is
so artistic. It's just great. Yeah.
sorry to
No, no,
interject
no,
on
no.
on
Go.
your monologue.
I
It's
was
just
rambling.
it reminds no. What that's reminiscent of is when we had Parks on for the Kenobi the Kenobi finale, and I love that he
Mm,
pointed out because we were having this argument because I think you were on the side that you didn't really care about visuals and stuff like that in terms
yeah.
of like what Kenobi was presenting. And where Parks made a great argument of like, well, it's an amusement park. I like he did this whole thing that you can go check out. He's like, I like when my cheeks move with the wind. I love when my when my eyelashes flutter in the wind. Like I just like being pulled and pushed and everything. I love feeling something. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what cinematography and doing
Yeah.
stuff with. Because every time we go to Mon Mothma's place and she sat in the middle, and then you have Dabo in this episode, and you have Tay, and it's just it's just beautiful. Like the sets
Yeah,
are amazing, and then the way the cinematography on top of that is just great. So it's
yeah,
everything from the show, the acting, the sets, the visuals, the sound effects, the
yeah,
music, it
yeah,
all complements each other very well. Like there's never been a time where I'm like, man, the music's lacking. Like no, it's like
yeah. It's
perfectly
great.
there. It's.
Yeah, as I said in the
So I
last
agree.
episode, it's like it just we hit it. The show hits on every level. Acting, visuals, music, whatever it is. You know, and just to add to what you were saying about the parks thing, my personal opinion on like cinematography and visual storytelling is that it's a bonus. Like it should never be the priority. But it's always it's like the icing on a cake. When I'm watching a show like Andor or pretty much any Star Wars media, I'm there for the story and the characters. And if that's
Right, right.
good, then I'm gonna enjoy it. But then when you add something like, good music, good cinematography, I'm like, that's a bonus and that elevates it to as good as it is. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes. I
that's what
agree.
I'd
I
say to
agree.
that. But yeah. Anyway, let's get cracking into the breakdown of this, Mike. Start
Yes.
us off with where we started in this episode.
Yeah, oh my god, what a grim scene. It actually reminded me from Bad Batch when they're just wheeling a Jedi. They're carrying a Jedi
Yeah.
on one of those what do you call them? Like a
Stretcher.
I forgot, but a
A
stretcher.
Star
There
Wars
you go.
stretcher. Yeah.
So a Star Wars stretcher that moves on its own. So yeah, we
Yeah.
have one of those, and they carry poor Olaf on there, and I was like, oh man, what a poor guy, what a poor scene. But
Yeah.
yeah, this his death really unlocked the whole conspiracy. So I'm just like, dang, you
Yeah.
know. So it's very sad. So once that comes, I love that sequence that we get with Kino and Cassian right before they're gonna be like dismissed back to their bunks, and they're having like this whole argument, and Cassian's like the window of our window of opportunity is closing, like we need to act now. And 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 Kino's just like on program, and they just have like this back and forth, and it's just amazing. And I think the acting here is phenomenal between the two actors, where I'm like, I never thought I'd see the day Andy Serkis and Diego Luna. So all that was
Yeah.
great. And then you even get I mean, oh my gosh, that line that Cassian says of, you know Kino was all like, it's power. They're powerful. That's why they're doing it. And Cassie's like, no, power doesn't panic. And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Power does not panic. So again, the dialogue in here is so heavy and chef's kiss all the time. I was like, man. So they have a great conversation there, and then we learn that there's 5,000 men on this what do they call it, Narkina 5, on this
Yeah.
prison
On the
boat,
station.
basically
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
prison station. There's 5,000 men
Yeah.
trapped. So it's there, and Cassian is like there being like, stuff is brewing. They're about to find out that they're never leaving. So that all of this was really surreal, and I just loved all of that. What did you think of all the intro stuff and all that, and what did you especially think about Kino and Cassian?
Yeah, I think something just with Andy Serkis at least is, I felt at the beginning I was like he's acting a little weird, and I was like I wasn't obviously we understand later with the payoff of he couldn't swim and stuff, but I was feeling like what's going on here. So I thought that was really well set up from the start. Yeah, just it built beautifully off of the last episode, came straight into the action. We didn't I didn't feel like I
Hmm.
missed out anything. We were straight there. I would have liked to seen a little more of like maybe Kino talking to his squad, at least being like, all right, this is the plan. You know what I mean? I would have liked to see that, but then at the same time, it was fun watching the plan unfold without really knowing
Exactly,
exactly what they were going
exactly.
to do. So credit there, but yeah, no. Overall, I just yeah, it was set up beautifully. But should we keep talking about the prison stuff, or do you want to move into creepy Davo?
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about the prison stuff. I thought that was just,
Yeah.
all
Okay.
all
Okay.
together. But
Cool. Yeah.
there's even a line there where it's like, that Cassian says that comes full circle later. I'd rather
Mm,
die trying to take them down than die giving them what they want. And I was like, that is
yeah.
so powerful. And I think what you said, that this episode wouldn't be as awesome without the other ones, and it's true because I we really needed that episode, the one that I fell asleep in because I was so tired after Tales. But like we needed that mundane feeling, that claustrophobic feeling, that dreary feeling. Do you ever see that Squidward meme where it's like he wakes up and does the same thing over and over, and first he's happy doing everything, and then as the days go on, he's just dreary, dreary, and it's all things he
Yeah,
loved. But these guys are being forced to work, and it's just we see their whole routine, the way they work, and it's like, why am I watching this? Like, what's the point? And first of all, it was all about teamwork because then they worked in unison here during the prison break. But it was also just to give you that sense of like, there's too much going on. I feel trapped in this damn prison, and then when this breakout is happening, it feels so emotional. Where I'm like, I get like a Shawshank Redemption, like I brought up in the past, like that type of prison break. Of course, like it's moving and stuff, but never in Star Wars I thought we'd ever see something like that. So, at least any of the prison breaks that I can think of, except Ezra saving Kanan, obviously, but
yeah,
like an actual prison break, because the one we got from Clone Wars was just all cool and flair, and this one was just dug in with emotion. So I thought that that whole line and coming back when Kino takes his stand and vocalizes that, and oh man, I just seriously I just love Cassian and Kino. I think they're a great
yeah,
duo, and I'm like, damn, damn,
yeah.
but
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely love those two together. But yeah, when then onto the part we love the satisfaction they actually escape. So to run us through this, that the ultimate point of the episode obviously happens toward the end of it, but yeah, run us through the escape, Mike.
oh man, this was obviously my favorite part and all that stuff. And like I said, I've never seen a escape just done better than it was here. So, then they bring in the new prisoner that we've gotten breadcrumbs about. Cassian last episode was watching as they were bringing in a new prisoner in, how many seconds he would have to board that like little ramp that they bring down, how many cards he would have to take out, stuff like that. So that finally kicks into gear. And even last week, I was talking about how Cassian was working behind the scenes already, breaking whatever pipe that was, and it turned out to be a water pipe. So
Yeah,
he also begins to do that as soon as things are put in motion. And I thought that whole scene was like really cool and stuff like that. And yeah, the breakup begins. The floor system malfunctions as water damages it, and it just goes havoc crazy. What Ari, what did you think? We just talked about how we didn't know much we didn't know a lot going into this like escape plan. Everything was kind of kept
yeah,
hush hush with Kino and his men. Well, at least for us, we didn't know what was going on. So
yeah.
yeah, what did you think of the whole breakout scene here at the beginning? The whole fight that happened on the floor and everything.
Yeah, I love seeing it. It yeah, us slowly discover what was actually happening, and man, the tension when Cassian's just like hacking at the pipe. I was pretty sure it was water, but then like kind of it's almost like a small reveal, like oh okay, that is what it is. And then I was just as he continues to hit it, I think that sequence went on for like a minute or so, and I was like,
Hmm.
keep hitting it, just hit it harder. Like I was just so desperate for that thing to just break open.
Yes.
So yeah, that was really well done. But yeah, no, absolutely love watching everything just come to fruition. And I think what was my point on all this? Oh yeah, the fight that they has, that was another cool revelation. And just every little victory I felt was just so celebrated, and every small defeat was like so like mourned, I guess. Like when Cassian finally jumps up on the lift, and then he pulls himself up and he gets the blaster, and he kills the guy. Like nothing comes easy. It was a really it actually felt difficult. I was there was never a point like where I was like, okay, yeah, so they're gonna get out, but how? I was like, are they gonna get out? Are they gonna get out? Like type thing. And then even just I think there were some characters that I don't think had even gotten a second of screen time, but just seeing them get like shot in the background, I was like, no, like
Right.
it hurt me just seeing like the plan not the escape not going exactly to plan in terms of everyone getting out safe
Right.
and alive. So I really felt every loss. I feel like the same way I celebrated every win, but and I think the reason that I felt all those losses as well, just because hearing the way each the prisoners were all talking about this, the way they were like, even in Kino's speech, he's like, "Play this how you want, but I'm just gonna pretend like I'm already dead." I was just thinking, it made me think about every prisoner. I was like, I wonder how each of these people are gonna go about it. You know, like what is
Right.
it, where are they gonna put their what's their headspace gonna be like with this? But yeah, it just so well done. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I think same as you. It's like even though there was like millions of even here they outnumbered the guards. It's like they were
Yeah,
still the smaller people. And
yeah,
same with in Clone Wars, whenever clones would get killed, I would just feel even more, even though
yeah,
there's millions of them, I was like, oh man, because droids are replaceable and everything, and these beings are not. And
yeah,
same with Rebels. Every time in Rebels we see like one of the like Alderaanian soldier, one of those guys with the the other colorful helmets, like they would come
yeah,
in
yeah,
like orange or green or blue. Whenever those guys died, I was like, no, even though we never
yeah,
saw their face, just because we know they're the smaller number. But yeah, like again, I think Andy Serkis here, for me, he stole the episode again for the week. There
yeah,
was just a moment when it's funny because we were just last week you brought up that point where we were on the bridge and Kino just starts yelling at them, and it's like the same tone every time. By the way,
yeah,
Kino is watching Ari. Actually, Luthen and Kino are having like a standoff right here
yeah,
at the
both.
YouTube video. Like I think they're fighting over who had the better monologue this week.
Yeah,
But I really think that Andy Serkis, oh my god, like his facial expressions, like when they were bringing in the new prisoner, now his voice is shaken. He's like he had his hands behind his head, and he's like on program. It wasn't as convincing as the other times when
yeah,
he would yell it on program. He was
yeah.
just like
Oh,
he was
yeah.
so nervous, and I
Also,
love
just
Andy Serkis.
speaking of on program, this is kind of unrelated, but when Cassian tells the two Imperial like tech officers or whatever they were to get on program, I just had like
Yes,
chills. I don't know whether
yes,
to like laugh or cry. I was just like something about that just like was so gut wrenching, but also so satisfying at the same time.
exactly.
He's
Yes,
like he kind of it's like he didn't really know what to say. And he's just like on program, like just oh
right.
man, like I wonder if he enjoyed that or not, or if he was
Oh,
like, I hate
he
doing
definitely
this,
did.
or like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely
I
did.
think it was an element of both, but yeah.
No, for
Also,
sure. Mhm.
this is sort of what we were talking about earlier in when we were talking about the opening of the episode, but I think Cassian's influence is so uh well portrayed in this episode. I think we're starting to see. I heard Diego Luna talking about this in like a featurette or something, but Cassian is starting to realize what Luthen saw in him in the earlier episodes. And a lot of people online are comparing to, how Cassian toward the start of Rogue One tells Jin rebellions are built on hope, and then later in the episode in her monologue says rebellions are built on hope, and then same with, Cassian says something to Kino, and then he repeats it in his monologue. So that was just a cool full circle moment. But yeah,
Yeah, people
um,
repeat what Cassian say. He's a cool guy. What can I
yeah.
say?
He just has, like, good things to say, like,
Right.
it's cool to
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
And I actually loved there's just moments when Cassian, because like again, Andy Serkis for me was, I love his approach to Kino and his uncertainty and things. It's like, bro, Kino was in here acting on behalf of the Empire, right? And then he realized like, oh my god, I'm gonna die like the rest of these guys. And then that's when
Yeah.
he decided to act, and having Cassian, you know, see his transformation. Not that Kino was like a callous character, but it's like having Cassie in there, and like even dude Diego Luna's acting was like incredible in this episode, where he just be like watching him over, like just watching all his actions, and I thought that was great. But yeah, for real, I love
Yeah.
those full circle moments, and I mean, dude, oh my god, I mean, this whole prison break, I thought was like, I love all the details where in the beginning in the bunks, uh, uh Kino was like, we're not going to tell the night shift or the next shift about it. They'll find out on their own." And then you start see water start leaking from the floor above, and it's like that's the
Yeah, yeah,
signal.
yeah.
Oh man! And I love all these guys, how they had like lukewarm reactions to like getting out. Like, come on, you're free, get out. And they were just like, nah. Like it reminded me of like like the Togrutas from Clone Wars. when they're all captured and stuff. Like they're like, no, we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. That's what they gave off until they gave like, no, the floor shut off. You're all good to go. And then when the turbo lift starts coming down, they
Yeah.
all start rushing out of there. Yeah, I just thought like there was just so many details into this Prison Break that I just absolutely loved. And I mean, like when the whole water thing was happening, when Cassian like went back to stand with everyone else, and you saw the puddle of water getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, how are the guards not seeing that? I was like so scared. I was so scared.
Yeah.
And yeah, it this never felt like noise to me because there was always the connection of Kino and Cassian, and then you had Melshi running around, but it just
Yeah.
never felt like noise and like, oh, let's just blare alarms and let's just have them run, let's have them shoot their way out.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot more um complicated than that because we had the whole like
Yeah.
the electrifying element of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And not to mention that this isn't Alcatraz prison. It's an
Yeah.
island, you know. You have to swim your way to freedom.
Yeah.
So that's, you know,
But
that's what they ended
also,
up doing.
just
But
to
yeah.
add to what you're saying, you're so right because like every shot, every sound, every piece of dialogue had meaning. You know, there wasn't just a like, now let's just show a shot of them running. You know, that just
Right.
everything felt so like meaningful, which was great. Also, Kino's face when he realizes that as he says, all floors are cold.
Yes.
That moment of
Yes.
realization was so cool. Like that felt like one of the most satisfying parts of the episode. It was almost like I don't know if who's seen Planet of the Apes, but Andy Serkis plays the main character who is actually a monkey. He does motion capture,
Caesar.
and yeah, Caesar, and he literally just pulled his Caesar face, and I was just like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
Yeah,
But
I literally have that in my notes because I want to talk about that. Yeah, thank you for bringing that
yeah,
up because yeah, that was a
yeah.
really cool moment for
He did
sure.
it he had that, like, Caesar kind of face a few times. There was one where he had his back to the camera, and then he, like, turned around and, like, gave this look, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this
Hmm.
is incredible." Um, but yeah, do you have anything else to say before we talk about Kino's fate?
Ooh, I guess. Oh man, I have to say I want, I guess I would want to touch upon Kino's uh message over the mic. I just thought it was eerie and I got chills from it. Just the fact that like this voice, this modulated voice was the oppressor in this prison. It was like the
Yeah,
one on program, you will be executed if you don't follow orders, that type of stuff.
yeah,
Like, do you know how many I feel like I just went through like a psychology experiment because whenever I hear on program, I just tense up. I just tense up every time. So I'm like, oh
yeah,
man, I don't know if it feels like I'm in that prison,
on
but yeah,
program. Yeah,
every time I hear that, I'm like, on program. And then Kino, and I love that it's like Cassian's like, no, you have to do it because you're the one that people know around here.
yeah, yeah,
You're the figure around here. You have to do it.
exactly.
And I just absolutely love that. And it just reminded me even of Ezra when he spoke. It was like it wasn't like Harris speaking as a member of the rebellion or
Yeah,
whatever. It was a young voice, you know. And so not
mm.
that Kino here is young, but Ezra's
It was
voice was a
the voice
shocking
that it
voice
had
to
to
hear.
be. Yeah, yeah,
Right. So so yeah, it just reminded me of that, and it's just crazy how it was like this was the voice of oppression, and then it was like a savior voice, you know. And I just
yeah,
absolutely love that turnaround where it's like, man, I got so annoyed and tensed up whenever I heard that voice, and then all of a sudden it's the voice of freedom. And I love that they toyed around with stuff like that. And hearing, I mean, all the stuff that Kino said in there, like the way he looked at the guards with anger when he found out, when he was talking about like, we all know that they fried out 100 men on level 2, and he just looked at the guards
yeah,
really angry. And then we know that they're making up our sentences as we go along. Yeah, he was just
yeah,
laying it all out there. And I love how everybody, yeah, it was just chilling. And I love the editing when he was talking over and you saw there's a shot of just red lighting with the staircases, and you just saw them all running up. Oh my god, that was really well done. So I absolutely loved all this. And this was like, I think this was the thing that pulled it together for me, was like just Kino's monologue over this. Because like I said,
yeah,
this if anything, this prison thing was a lot more compelling than your typical prison break. But yeah,
yeah.
and I absolutely love how now everyone's just saying one way out on Instagram. It's just like one way out. one way.
It's like
So
this is the way
this
type
is
of
the
thing.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So the imagery of the prisoners escaping, and then actually when it kind of looked not like the Death Star was exploding, but like it was like breaking apart. So we had like the prison. We got like the aerial view from it, and you just saw all the swim or all the prisoners swim
Yeah.
away, and it just looked like, if anything, like it was spilling out of the prison, like if it was breaking
Yeah,
apart or something. So I was like,
yeah.
man, that very cool imagery.
With all the swimming, it made me think of Bombad Jedi, the Clone Wars episode where Jar Jar makes a connection with a sea slug and he swims around on I think it's what's the planet?
It's
Oh
rodeo.
man. Yeah, Rhodia, that's the one. Anyway, no, I'm joking. I need to make one obscure Star Wars reference a week. But
Okay. You know
hey
what?
man, Bombad Jedi underrated
Underrated.
episode of Star Wars TV.
And it was all that
Anyway,
it was all the slugs. It was all the slugs doing, just gotta say.
exactly. Yeah, my theory is that Kino just jumps off and finds one of those sea slug things that Jar Jar swims around with in Bombad Jedi. Anyway, no, I'm joking. Okay, in all seriousness, no, what you're saying about Kino's speech or his monologue, it when he walks in and I think we see one of the officers is giving a ramble into the mic, and it has a real like Wizard of Oz type feeling. You know what I mean? Kind of with that. I haven't watched the Wizard of Oz in so long, but whatever they call like the big baddie and and then they pull the curtain behind and it's just some guy in a suit like making all this stuff because
Right.
obviously that like that voice modulation and all that stuff. But
Oh, true. That's
I'm
it's a very good point. Fun
yeah
fact, Wizard of
yeah
Oz
okay.
was my favorite movie for a long time as a
Oh,
kid.
wow, okay, very nice.
There you go.
Um, I'm just so excited to see like the ISB fallout from this. Like, if they're gonna treat it kind of like they did with Aldani, or if they're gonna sweep it under the rug. Like, what are they gonna be like? Is it gonna be panic stations for them? But so there's some music playing out there. Just don't worry about that. Also, yeah. So let's talk about Kino though. So probably my favorite moment in the show, not favorite, but just like the moment that made me feel the most is just where we look at Kino and Cassian's like, "What are you doing? Are you coming?" And he's like, "Can't swim." It just the way that line was delivered, it wasn't like obviously there was a lot of sadness, but it was also like bittersweet at the same time. Because then the second time he's just like, "I can't swim." He's like, but he's just so happy that this has all worked. At least that was my interpretation of it. It was like he's heartbroken that the realization of, even if we could escape, he knew that he was never going to be able to personally get out of there. But he was like, well, what is the point anymore? So yeah, I don't know what a line. And then also it's just it breaks my heart, Cassian just getting thrown off without
Yeah.
having a proper goodbye or anything. But also yeah, man, it hurt. First we had old mate who got hit with the thing in the first arc. He dies, and now Kino. It's just
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking all around. Yeah. I think we'll see Kino and see I don't think we'll see him for the remainder of the series, but I think we'll see him
You
pop up
think
in
he's
season
alive?
2. Yeah, definitely. I definitely think so.
Definitely. You definitely think he's alive?
I
Wow.
definitely think he's alive, and
Okay.
we'll see. I definitely think we'll see him in season 2 of
Okay.
Andor.
I'll be honest. My immediate reaction was like, yeah, no, he's dead. He's not getting out of there. But then I started to think. I was like, well, I just feel like we would have seen him die if he didn't. So
You
I'm with
don't
you. I'm not definite on it, but I think he will come back. I think what my genuine theory, that isn't him going and swimming with the space slug, is I think he's going to get captured again, and maybe he's like the only one that they managed to capture, and they'll do something to him and whatever. And then in maybe season 2, there's an arc where Cassian goes and frees him with Melshi or something like that. But
you don't
yeah.
kill Andy Serkis off screen. That's all I'll say.
That's a good point. But yeah, and then of course, yeah, them all running through the prison, just screaming "one way out, one way
One
out"
way
was
out.
just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
chilling.
Yes.
Um, and then of course, as I said, absolutely loved the final scene, Cassian and Melshi running off. I was watching with my girlfriend, and she was like, "Oh, so like, is the implication that everyone died except Cassian and Melshi?" And I was like, "I don't think so. I hope not." Because you can see there's two like Imperial, I don't know what they are, those things in Rebels, like flying over, like shining lights on the ocean, like But I'm sure other people they all swam in different directions. But it is weird that I'm like, where are all the others? But yeah, I'm sure they're not dead. But it was interesting to see.
Yeah. Like I said, it's an Alcatraz escape. Like they all just swim offshore from the, because you know what Alcatraz is, right? I'm pretty sure.
No,
No. So it's a remote prison off the shore of San Francisco, and it's an island,
right?
but it's like been shuttered away now, and it's just used for like ghost sightings and stuff. But like there's an escape there that happened, and people swam offshore from it,
Oh,
and they swam to like the wherever. I mean, wherever. Actually, they never found them, but here, I mean, yeah, they never found them, so that's the mystery. But you know what?
cool.
We know that Cassie and Melshi survived. So forget about
Yeah,
the others. We know that our favorites
yeah.
survived.
I want to know what happens to I don't know his name, but we've been following him throughout these last 3 episodes. The first guy that jumps off, I just loved that moment where he's like, "One way out," and he just runs. And I was like, because at first I was like, I thought they were all gonna stop and be like, "Oh, do we have to go back?" But he was just like, "No, F it. I'm just I'm running out, I'm just jumping off." But anyway, that's the escape. Of course, we're going to talk about that for most of the episode because it was the real meat and potatoes. But there is two other storylines, I guess we want to talk about it. There was a bit with Dedra and stuff, but that was pretty minimal, I would say. They're
Yeah.
just trying to set stuff up. Let's talk about Mon Mothma, and as Mike's put it in the notes, creepy Davo, because he is creepy, man. He certainly wasn't like as when I looked at him, I wasn't like, oh, like bad guy. But as he started to talk, I was like, yep, bad guy. I don't know, but you can see, yeah, that I like what they're doing with Mon Mothma here because for her, it's just going to be it's a battle of morality. What's the correct way to fight? Star Wars has always done this. It's like yes, know when to fight, but it's how we choose to fight that matters.
Yeah.
Ezra says that in like season 4 of Rebels. It's iconic, but um, everything with Ezra is iconic, but that's another point. Yeah. So Davo wants to that is that his actual name, by the way?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I thought you just put that in there because you thought it was funny. Davo is his name, I guess so. Um, anyway, so he has said, I don't want any money from you if we want to do this money laundering business. I want my 14-year-old son to meet your 13-year-old daughter, which is a twist that I did not see coming, but I'm absolutely loving that. But it makes so much sense because they've been setting it up the whole time. It's like, oh yeah, Chandrilla has a way of doing their things. We know that that's how Mon and her husband are married. So yeah, really interesting
Yeah.
stuff. What are your
'Cause we
thoughts?
yeah, because it has been set up because I'm like, damn, why are they showing? Because last week I said, I'm like, why would they, it's like if a newcomer came to Mon Mothma's house or whatever, a guest, even Tay, if he came in and he's like, how does this Mon Mothma girl, why does she want to run the galaxy if she can't even have a
Yeah,
firm hand in her own household? And it's like
yeah,
we've been leading up to this moment because we've seen how unhappy and disconnected Mon Mothma is from her husband, where she doesn't even want to talk about him. Like, no, we're not turning that corner.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah,
I love that,
absolutely.
by the way.
Oh
That
yeah, me
he's
too.
like, oh, so this isn't one of those meetings that I have with your husband. I'm like, what are the meetings you're having with
Yeah,
whatever her husband's name is? I think I
petty,
can take a
petty.
few. Yeah, I can take a few guesses what they've been talking about, but
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, so I absolutely loved it, and immediately you just got like the snivelly nose that this guy has, and like the scheming hand. Like he just came in like insulting her residence, and then insulting her demeanor. So yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
just
this is not gonna go well. And I mean, the performance from Genevieve O'Reilly. Oh my god, in this scene, like, I
incredible.
mean, just so while this scene was very minimal, I feel like I got a lot from it. I mean, we
Yeah,
had we had the whole uh, Chandrila marriage thing, and oh man, that was just weird, and that was unexpected. And
yeah,
you just had Mon Mothma being like, "Oh no, like Tay, dismiss him out the door. Bye, we're not
yeah,
doing this." And then
yeah,
he's like, "Oh, this is the first thing you lied about something today." And
yeah,
and
yeah.
she's left shuddering. At first, I thought she was shuddering from disgust, but I just remembered from a previous episode when she was asking, oh, what's that girl's name? Her niece or her cousin,
Oh, Val.
Val. When she was
Yeah,
asking, when she was telling Val what, like, at what cost? Like, what's the cost of fighting? At what cost? And I'm pretty sure, man, she was there, like, pondering the idea, at least
Mhm.
thinking about it, because she was. But I think before she could
Oh, yeah.
even like think about it even more, she just threw him out because she's like, I'm desperate, but not that desperate. But she was
Yeah.
just left thinking about it, you know? So I thought that was like, oh my God, she was just left shuddering. So I thought that was immaculate.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, oh man, chills all around. So yeah, what a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how Mon Mothma's gonna get this funding because I also like how he
Yeah.
insulted that people like her don't like receiving charity. So it was, oh man, it was great scene.
Yeah.
Dialogue,
I would say as well,
just
in previous weeks, I've criticized the Mon Mothma storyline
heavily,
for
heavily.
not heavily, but I have criticized it because it's felt like more of the same each week, and we haven't really been getting far. This was probably my favorite Mon Mothma episode for the whole show. I think, just because not only did a lot happen, I just thought we are
Yeah,
really seeing that side of her that you know we just didn't. Obviously, we know we've talked about this before. Mon Mothma is the angel of the rebellion, the savior, but it's like, but what's going on? What built that?
right.
And so I'm really so curious to see, is she going to go through with this, because it seems so Mon Mothma like to go through with this. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah,
I
for
can't
sure.
see her doing it, but then at the same time, I'm like, what's the alternative? Because she seems like the getting the funding is a non-negotiable. She needs that funding, but man, the way she's going to go through with it is going to
Very
be very interesting.
Very interested. Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah,
you can connect that to Rebels too, where it's like she's finally on that like soap up or soapbox, and it's like, yes, I have the whole rebellion, but then she even struggles with even sending a strike team to Lothal. She's like, too risky. Like, what's the cost of
yeah,
fighting anymore if we're just gonna be like squished down before we even move our fingers, you know? So it's like
yeah,
it's just very. I love that this is very consistent with Mon Mothma as a character in whole.
yeah.
So yeah.
Let me ask you, yes or no, is she gonna go through with the arranged meeting between the kids?
Dang. I'm gonna have to say no, but I'm pretty sure after dealing with her daughter and how disrespectful she is, she's thought about it, being like, because
Yeah,
she just seems so unhappy with it that it's like I wouldn't put that with on my daughter. I wouldn't make her marry
yeah,
someone like Perry, you know? So
exactly. I'm gonna say no as well. My gut feeling is no, because I feel like it would be so out of character, but at the same time, I would trust that they would put, circumstances around it to
right,
make
right.
it make sense, of course. But
Yeah.
my gut feeling is no, just because I cannot possibly see how she would allow that to go down. But
Yeah.
it just her reaction to in the last episode when her friend said our only option is Davo or whatever it was, and
Mhm.
she was like, he is a thug, all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's move on to the final sort of part of the episode, which is of course Luthen's monologue about his sacrifice. We find out there's a mole in the ISB, a rebel spy, who's reporting to Luthen. He hasn't reported in over a year. Um, his name's Loney, but wow,
Lonnie,
this
but yeah.
Lonnie, sorry,
But
yeah,
Lonnie's cool too.
yeah, that's a Saints player, an old Saints player. That's how I read it. Anyway, um, but yeah. So that was a really great scene in the elevator. Love seeing like the some of the lower levels of Coruscant in live action. I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool. Yeah. Also, I thought that it was funny. Like it looked just genuinely just looks like a headphone he had plugged in, but whatever. But yeah, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, I absolutely loved this stuff. I mean, I didn't even know. I'm like, he looks familiar, but I don't even know from what because all the
Yeah,
ISB people look the same. But
yeah,
when I rewatched the episode, I'm like, oh, he was in that previous scene. So yeah, like this whole scene was. At first, I was like, what's going on? Again, I love, as you pointed out, love the underworld element. I was like, yes, we finally get to go to Coruscant, the under level. But I mean, oh my god, are we talking about the speech yet?
yeah. Just the whole sequence.
Yeah, man. That's one scene I had to rewind and rewatch. I was like, that was, I mean, it was already cold in that room where I was watching it, but the chills I got when he said, I share my dreams with Ghost, man, talking about like all the allies that he's had that have died or
Yeah,
just friends or whatever. It's like, oh my God, like talk about, oh man, like, whew, like that is,
yeah.
that's sad. So
The
that's
actor
very
is
sad.
is Stellan Skarsgård, right? That's his
Yeah,
name?
yeah.
Yeah, I had never seen him in anything before. I actually recently watched Goodwill Hunting for the first time, which I know is a very good movie that I probably should have watched ages ago. Saw
Very
him in
good.
that, and but he has a very different role, obviously. But yeah, this guy's just gone as an actor, has gone so under the radar for me until these last few weeks, and I'm just like, this guy is honestly incredible. That delivery was yeah, sensational.
Sensational. And another line, oh my god. And this is made me think of Saul Guerrero, where he goes,
Yeah,
I condemned uh, to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. Or I've been condemned, to use them. And I
yeah,
was like, oh my God, Brad, like what a tragedy. Right. So it's
yeah,
like, man, I just absolutely loved this whole thing. And oh my God. I mean, there's just been like I burned my decency for someone else's future. Like, come on. Like there's just so many lines in here that just made me like feel all the emotions. And
yeah,
yeah, like I mean, do you see Luthen? Because there's a line in here where he said, um, I burned my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. Like, do you see
mm,
this man? Do you see this man like go anywhere near like Mon Mothma figure, like leading the rebellion type? Like, do you even see him? It's crazy
nah,
because I
nah,
I never thought I've never seen him like that. And when he was saying all this stuff, I was like, wait, he's really for the cause. But I'm
yeah.
like, I don't even see him as a rebel leader. Like, I just don't.
He's it just all comes back to that same conversation of like, it's how you choose to fight that matters and all that sort of stuff. And he's pretty much just said, I don't actually care at this point as long as they go down. If I become just as bad or worse than them, I don't care. I need to see them go, and or not even. I just need to know that they're gonna go because he says I'm probably not gonna live to see the day that they do. Which, by the way, is a great uh, you know mention to Rogue One. Of course, Cassian literally dies watching the
The
sunset on
sunrise,
or
yeah,
the sunrise. Yeah,
sunrise or
um,
sunset, yeah.
yeah. What else was I gonna say? I don't know. There's a lot to say about this, but um, yeah, I think I just the same way Mon Mothma won't allow someone like Saw Gerrera near the organized rebellion. I can't see her letting someone like him
Yeah, he's a loose
near it
cannon.
because the way he's going about it just ain't right. But it makes me think of that line I think you said in the fourth episode, which at the time I thought was cool, but looking back, I'm like, I can't wait to hear him say that in the rewatch where he says like, "Don't you want to fight these bastards for real?" or something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that just yeah, he's I want to know why he hates the Empire. Like I kind of want to know more about what happened to him, but he certainly has a hatred
And
for them.
he does, and I absolutely love when he was talking to Lonnie, and he was like, you should love this. You're living a double life. You're scheming in the background." And he was basically describing himself, like the thrill. So it's like, he has a whole front store running like this antique shop, and really, he's just dealing in the back. So I absolutely love Luthen, and I hope we see more of him in the finale. And that about wraps us up about all the discussion. But I do
I
want to
want to
point
say
out
one
two
more
things.
thing real
Oh,
quick.
go for it.
Just to add to what I just said before about choosing the right and wrong way to fight. This is the wrong way to fight, because he's being consumed by hatred and all that, and that is literally using the dark side. You know what I mean? So I mean, from my outlook
So
on this, I think that it's trying to be said that this isn't the right way to go about it. It's so difficult to blur the lines between the right or wrong way, but I think what's trying to be said is that this is the wrong way to do it, and he's literally doing what
yeah,
his dark
because
side users do. He's giving it to hate, revenge, anger, all that sort of stuff. So yeah,
because I was empathizing with the Imperial there. He's like, I have a 1-year-old daughter, and he
yeah,
like Luthen like used that as leverage against him, and I was
yeah,
like,
exactly,
yikes.
exactly.
So
It's
no,
not it's not the right way to go about it.
yeah,
Obviously,
no.
we understand it, but yeah,
And you bring up a good point because they were talking about they had that little scene with Krieger, who was mentioned before with Luthen's conversation with Saul, and now
yeah,
we know that the Imperials are making an advance on Krieger. And when Lonnie's telling him this whole thing, Krieger's like, "Well, too bad, let him die. Like I'd rather
yeah.
sacrifice him for you,
He
for
said
your
he'll
safety."
sacrifice 50 men
Yeah,
over having a mole in the ISB, which is like
exactly.
that's 50 lives,
50
man.
lives
Like
over. So yeah, we Luthen is really a very gray, morally gray
morally
character.
great. Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, these scenes, and even the scene that we were on, what Kix Bix? Not Bix is the character. What's that planet name that they're on at the beginning of the series with Andor's where
Oh my god,
Marva's
we
at?
get the
All the
we always
time.
brain fart on this every week.
But let's just call it uh, I don't know. Anyways, but whatever planet that is, I can come up with a name. Whatever planet that was, we had like the little scene. I just want to say this. And we learned two things. I want to point out. We learned two things here. We learned that Bix is free. She's free from the Imperial control because she was walking around normally. She looked a little dazed, but she was still walking around normally. And then Marva is sick. So I don't know if they're
Ferrex.
setting something up.
It's called Ferrex.
Oh, Ferrex. I was like, did I get the mom's
Yeah.
name wrong?
Was Bix free? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, she was
Bix
walking.
being
She was like
free.
watching, and there's
Yeah,
something
right.
going on where some guy was like looking for information. They pointed at a building. I was like, ooh, little
I
like
need
like
to.
my
Yeah,
friend Pete Plocool said, like there's just so much subtle buildup in this show that you don't realize until you go back. Like the whole prisoner thing, they were slowly adding to
yeah, right.
the escape, and it was like, oh my god, they're just giving you all the details and little breadcrumbs. And same here, like it's already happening. Marva's sick. Like what's gonna happen? So. My
Yeah.
God, what an episode.
I
There's
think
still so
Marva's
much to
dying at
talk
the end of season 1.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too.
Unfortunately.
I just can't. There's still so much to talk about this episode. Like I feel like we
Yeah.
just barely cracked the surface. Like we
I,
covered the general
yeah.
points, you know?
I think when we go back and do a series review, or just when we're talking about this season as a whole, I can definitely see us looking back on this episode a lot,
Right.
just because of the importance and the nature of it. Which it's a 10 out of 10 episode. I'm just gonna say it now. 10
I'll
out of
give
10.
you
This is a
I'll give you that
fantastic.
I'll give you that W because when we're watching Kenobi, when it was that prison episode, oh yeah, when it was that prison episode, you're like, I feel like this is gonna be an episode we look back on and it's gonna be really important. And it was
It
not.
was
So
not. I
I
just
give you
rewatched
this one.
Kenobi, and that episode is so dog crap.
So
It's
I will give you credit for this one because I remember you said that at the time. I was like, yeah, we'll see. And I give you credit for this one. But yeah,
I was just clenching. What's that say? I was just clenching at straws or whatever. I was
grasping at straws. Yeah,
grasping at straws. Yeah.
you're doing
But
a
this
lot
is a
more
10
than
out
that.
of 10.
But
What's your overall rating of this episode?
I would say a 9 out of 10 for sure.
Okay. Okay.
I still loved it. Like last
No.
week, I think I liked last week's episode just because I was like I'm telling you, it was just so brilliant. There's just dialogue, and I was so tensed up. And here it was like it was a really good breakout stuff, but I could have done without the. I felt like Ferrex. Like when we went
Yeah.
back there, I was like, okay, like it felt like it took away from the narrative a bit.
Yeah. This is so random, but I just want to ask you this on the show because why not? In my time of doing the podcast, I've rated 3 things out of 10. Do you think you can say what those 3 things are? And I'm
For
including
you,
this as one of them. So can you say what the other 2 things that I gave 10 out of 10 were?
on the spot, damn. What did we review together?
No,
I don't
this
even.
even before we were together.
So Rebels.
No. Rebels
You're
wasn't
at,
coming out. You know what? This game's going to take too long. Just 3 things I've given 10 out of 10. This episode, Tales of the Jedi and Light of the Jedi.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening to the Star Wars Exchange show. You gave
Giving me
Tales of the
nothing.
Jedi a 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
Anyways, that Ahsoka baby episode goes hard, huh? But
It
I
does.
really
We watched it together at Celebration. It was
thank you
amazing.
everyone. It just you know what? Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Any closing thoughts?
10 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
No, this is a great episode. I'm so excited but so sad for the series to end at the same time. How about you?
Me too. We have 2 weeks left. Very it's oh man. And it's only gonna be a month without Star Wars, which is fine, but like I'm gonna miss Andor because we don't know. The earliest it could come out is in 2024. So I'm gonna like indulge the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna make sure I stay up.
Yeah.
I'm energized to watch the next 2 episodes because it's really the finale arc. It's the finale arc.
Yeah. Remember Genji's coming back in Bad Batch? Genji. How wild is that? I just saw a screenshot of that yesterday and I was like, no way. No way they're doing that. Anyway, so Bad Batch season 2 is going to be great, is all I'm saying.
When you said Genji, I was like, is he playing around right now?
Gunji.
Like, I don't know.
Gunji. I think I said Gunji and you were like, Gungi, and you were like really
No, you
annoyed
said
about it.
Gungi. You said Gungi, and I said Gunji. I've
Oh, all
always
right,
said
sure,
Gunji.
okay.
Yeah. Now you're saying
Who's
Genji.
Genji?
Nobody.
Is
Are you talking about the Genji Clone Wars series?
no. Genji is a character in something, right?
Maybe The Walking Dead, but not in Star
Yeah.
Wars. I
I
don't know.
love The Walking Dead.
He clearly loves it. I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
How
the
cool is it
episode.
that Gungi's coming back in Bad Batch?
Gunji.
Gun or what did I say? Gungi. I like Gungi.
I'm going insane. I feel like I'm in that prison and I'm just losing hope.
All I'm trying to say is there's hope for Star Wars after Andor. Bad Batch season 2 is going to go insanely hard.
On program. All right. End of program. That's what's happening. Yes. We
Oh,
have
man.
a lot to look forward to in Star Wars. We have Bad Batch and other stuff, and it's going to be really fun. And Mandalorian. So yes, it's going to be an epic time. So we're not going anywhere. We're only going to have 1 month of just kind of regular podcasts, and then we're going to have to go back in.
Straight back in.
Actually, they're going to be. I'll save my thought for Mike's minute next week.
Let's have Mike's minute this week.
It was revealed that they're gonna be shooting season 2 at the start, like right before Thanksgiving, and we're gonna go to Yavin 4. So we'll be on Yavin 4 in Andor season 2. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Are you? Yavin 4.
You know what I'm
We're
more
going to
excited
Yavin
for?
4.
Commander Cody coming back in the Bad Batch season 2.
I guess that ranting about all that fan service has just gone to the trash, huh?
No. Yeah.
No, I'm excited.
I mean, it's expected because I said season 2 is going to walk into Rogue One, and Rogue One with Cassian starts on.
But it's still cool to find out stuff like that.
Cool.
I'm just, you know, it's
I'm
not a
having a go at
Ferrix.
you, mate. I'm having a go at you.
It's not Ferrix, but you know, yeah.
Isn't it? Or is it Canary?
What? I'm talking about Yavin 4.
Oh, right. I thought you were being like, by the way, when you said Ferrix, that was wrong.
Oh no. I was being sarcastic. I was like, well, it's not a
This has
planet
been
like
the
Ferrix,
weirdest
but
end to an episode ever.
it's been a whole episode. It's been a whole weird episode, but
it's been a weird episode.
It's whatever. Any closing thoughts? Yeah, you already said enough. All right.
Yeah.
Bad Batch season 2 coming soon, sooner than Andor season 2. But we got 2 episodes left, so stay tuned. Make sure you follow the podcast page, and you subscribe to the YouTube channel and listen to our podcast feeds on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts are found. Ari, where can people find you on social media when they're not watching Andor?
Find me on Instagram at StarWars_exchange, but I would much prefer, instead of you going and following me there, subscribe to this YouTube channel, give us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, all that. Follow us on at the Star Wars Exchange, at the SW Exchange on Instagram. Do all that. Mike, where can people follow you?
all_Star Wars, and you'll see me celebrating Andor all day, every day. Just kidding. I don't post Andor on there because I just rather talk about it. It's just much more engaging. But anyways, that does it for both of us. Bye. Adios. Until next time.
May the force be with you. What's that line?
Gungi.
One way out. There you go. Bye.
There we go. Bye, Gungi.